Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Hi, my name is Muhammad Amiruddin bin Ahmad, and I'm here today to talk about one of the tasks that I've done, which is assessment test kit. Assessment test kit is an test kit which has been conducted, which has been created by myself and has been conducted to my students. Before we move to the main character in this presentation, let's first visit the definition of assessment. What does it mean by assessment? Assessment is the variety of ways that teachers can use in evaluating, measuring, and documenting students' readiness, progress, skill acquisition, and needs before, during, and after a lesson. From this definition, it can be concluded that assessment is one of the tools that teachers can use to gain information about students' learning capabilities and the efficiency of their teaching and learning methods through assessment. There are three types of assessment. The first one is assessment as learning. Assessment as learning is when students learn through assessment. Next, we have assessment of learning. Assessment of learning is a summative type of assessment. Summative type of assessment happens after, at the end of the school year, or maybe after a semester. It will test students' knowledge, students' learning capabilities after the whole year, the whole schooling year, or after the whole semester. And the last type of assessment is assessment for learning. Assessment for learning is a formative type of assessment which can be conducted after the lesson or during the lesson. The information gained from formative assessment can be used by teachers to assess their teaching approaches and their students' acceptance of the approaches, of the methods, of the material that have been used in the learning process. Next, let's look at grading. What does it mean by grading? There are three definitions of grading. The first one is the act of classifying something on a scale by quality, rank, size, or progression. Next is the position or degree assigned in this type of classification. And the last one, in education, what does it mean by grading? Grading in education is the act of assigning a mark or rating indicating achievements or the worth of work done by our students, which means that work done by our students will be marked, and the grade is called grading. Now, let's move to the main character in this presentation, which is the assessment test kit. What are the content of the assessment test kit? What are the item justification, item used? What are the justification for the item used? And what are the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat for this assessment test kit? And also, what are other improvements that can be done to this assessment test kit? Let's look at it. First, an introduction about the assessment test kit. An assessment test kit has been developed and it consists of 4 sections. These 4 sections will assess students' language skills. First is the listening section, which have assessed students' listening skills. Next, we have reading section for the reading skills, and next we have writing section to assess students' writing skill, and the last section is the speaking section that have assessed students in the speaking skills. The target audience for this assessment test kit is primary school year 4. There are 30 students involved in this assessment test kit. They have been given this test kit through Google Forms, and the content of the assessment test kit focus on the content of language art component, the graphic novel, the Jungle Book. In this test, the marks allocation is 40 marks with 10 marks per section. This is the test. This is the test in the Google Forms. As you can see in the test, the title itself is the Jungle Book. It is a pre-test and also a post-test that have been conducted, that have been administered. Pre-test before the lesson delivery and post-test after the lesson delivery. It will assess students' knowledge about the content in the lesson, which is about the Jungle Book, the graphic novel for language art component, English Year 4. Let's look at the test. First section is the listening section. In this section, there is a video about storytelling of the Jungle Book. Students first are required to watch this video and listen to the audio provided in this video. After that, students are required to answer the questions that are related to the audio in this video of storytelling of the Jungle Book. The questions comprise of short answer, multiple choice answers, and also true-false questions. Now, let's move to the reading section. The reading section have required students to read the text given. The text is part of the synopsis of the story of the Jungle Book, and the questions asked is regarding the text. There are tick the box, there are short answer questions, there are multiple choice question, and next we move to writing section. In writing section, students are required to answer four main questions with one true or false question. In the first question, question number 16 is the short answer question. Question number 17 is the true-false question, and we have some short answer and long answer, which is an open-ended question. And the last section is the speaking section. In this section, there are 5 questions that are related to the story of the Jungle Book. Now, let's look at the test content. What does the test have? In the listening section, it is a video of storytelling of the Jungle Book. And then we have 9 questions in this section, which is made up from multiple choice questions and restricted response short answers question. The marks allocation for this section is 10 marks. Next, we have the reading section. In the reading section, students are required to read the part of synopsis of the Jungle Book. In this section, there are 6 questions, restricted response with short answers questions, tick the box questions, and multiple choice questions. Next, for this section, also 10 marks was allocated. In the writing section, there are 4 main questions, true or false questions, restricted short answer question, and open-ended. There are a total of 10 marks allocation in this writing section. And the last section is the speaking section. There are 5 questions. Students need to upload the voice via voice recording to the Google form with a total mark of 10 marks. Now, let's look at the rubric of this test item for this assessment test kit. There are two rubrics in this assessment test kit. The first one is the writing rubric and then the speaking rubric. In the writing rubric, there are three criteria that are assessed to the students. First, in terms of their preparedness, and then their content delivery, and then students are assessed in the grammar criteria. There are 5 bands that students will be assessed to. In the speaking rubric, there are 4 criteria that students will be assigned to: preparedness, fluency, content delivery, and grammar. In speaking rubric also there are 5 bands that students will be assessed to. Let's justify the items used in these questions in this assessment test kit. First, it is a formative assessment. Why do we do formative assessment? Because formative assessment is beneficial for teachers to gain information about the lesson that they have conducted, and also teachers can gain information about students' acceptance about the materials, the methods, and also the approaches that have been taken by the teachers in the lesson delivery. So teachers can reflect on their lesson using formative assessment. And then this assessment was administered after the lesson delivery, which is the definition of formative assessment. Which one of the definition of formative assessment? This assessment caters to all 4 language skills, which are listening, reading, writing, and speaking skills. The video that was used in the listening section is the similar video of storytelling for the Jungle Book. The same video was used during the lesson delivery by the teachers. Why the same video was used? Because students are familiar with the pronunciation, with the projection of words in the same video. So it will be beneficial for students to score well in the listening section if we use the same video that have been used in the lesson delivery. The items made up of varied questions type. There are multiple choice questions, there are close-ended questions, there are open-ended questions, there are true and false questions, and also there are tick the box questions. This is to cater different students' capabilities. For the reflection, I'm going to focus on 4 main areas. The first one is the strength of the test item. The second one is the weakness of the test item. The third one is the opportunities of the test item. And the fourth one is the threat of the test item. Let's look at the strength. The strength of this test item is the familiar content, because in the listening section, the same video was used from the lesson delivery, and also in the reading section, students are familiar with the reading text because it was the summary of the story of the Jungle Book. So with familiar content, students are familiar with the words in the test. This will help them to answer well in the test. Besides that, this assessment test kit also use differentiated approaches in order to cater different students' comprehension. So every student, whether they are slow learners, moderate learners, or advanced learners, will have the opportunity to score well in this assessment test kit. What are the weaknesses of this test kit? First, open-ended questions. Some of the sections have open-ended questions that was found difficult by the students. This was proven by their responses, where students aren't able to answer well to these open-ended questions. Some of the questions that students have problem with is in listening section. Question 1 in listening section ask students who is the main character in this story. In the video of storytelling of the Jungle Book, the main character are not mentioned, but students need to analyze based on the story, based on the audio of the video of storytelling of the Jungle Book, who is the main character of the story. This is why this open-ended question is quite difficult for some students to score well. And next, we have in the writing section, question 19. Question 19 asks students to create the multiverse for Jungle Book, where students need to think what will happen to Mowgli if his parents never been killed, if his parents are alive. So they need to think of alternate universe where Mowgli's parents are alive. And the last questions that students have problem with is in the speaking section, question 23. In question 23, students will ask about their opinion about Shere Khan. Is Shere Khan an evil tiger? So students need to analyze based on the story, based on their understanding of the story, to analyze whether the character Shere Khan is evil or not. So in the final weakness in this assessment test kit is in the reading section. Why? Because it mainly comprised of easy and moderate question. Why did I say that? Because from the responses that I have gained, I have tabulated from the students' responses, all students from slow learners, moderate learners, and advanced learners can answer all questions well in the reading section, which means that it is mainly easy and moderate questions. What are the opportunities that these assessment test kit have? First, the technological input. This assessment test kit was conducted through Google Forms. Google Forms is one of the online platform that will give technological input to the students when they are being assessed. It is a new and refreshed ways to assess students' knowledge. This is the new and refreshed way. This is the new modern way that teachers need to conduct their assessment. Nowadays, the traditional method of assessment where teachers will give the exam paper, will give the question paper to the students will answer on the paper, and then teachers will collect the paper and mark the paper. This is the traditional way. So teachers in this era, in this globalization era, need to be creative in their assessment ways. So this is one of the ways to assess in this technological era, which will give students technological input. What are the threats of this assessment test kit? First, internet connection. Of course, when we are dealing with online platform, the main villain in this field is the internet connection. Internet connection always gives problems to students and teachers if they are going through online learning session. Online assessment also face the same problem with internet connection. Next, we have technical difficulties. This is focus for speaking section, where students are required to send their voice through voice recording in the Google form. Some students, they can answer the questions asked in the speaking section, but they have difficulty to upload their voice recording to the Google Forms. And the last threat that this assessment test kit have is students' perception towards language art content. Some students have the negative mindset, have the negative perception that language art are not important for their language acquisition. This is why they lack the interest to learn language art, and then with the lack of interest, they will produce less attention, they will provide less attention, and will give less effort in this language art content. These are the threats that this assessment test kit face. What are some of the improvements that the assessment test kit that can be taken to the assessment test kit? First, more items in each section. Some sections only have 4 main questions. It is too little for number of items to test students' ability in that particular skill. So, in the future assessment, the next assessment, more items should be used in each section. For example, for listening section, instead of 10 marks only, the marks should be allocated 25 marks. For reading also 25 marks. For writing also 25 marks. And also for speaking will be 25 marks. With the increased marks allocation, the number of items should increase so that students will be able to be assessed more on their learning capabilities, and also students different level of understanding, different level of competency can be tested, can be assessed using more items in each section. Next, the test item should be more diverse in terms of types of questions. Some sections only have multiple choice questions. This is not a great way to create a test item. The test item, the section of the language skills tested, should be more diverse in terms of type of questions. Multiple choice questions, short answer, open-ended, restricted response questions, true or false, and tick the box can be used in this item, should be used in this item. And the third improvement that the assessment test kit can do in the future, can be done to the assessment test kit in the future, is the use of I Think My Map. I Think My Maps have been proven to improve students' attention level to the content of the mind maps. With using I Think My Map, students will be more interested to answer the questions. The fourth improvement that can be done to the assessment test kit is we need to continue this type of assessment with other subject content. When we are teaching other subject, when we are teaching other topic in the language, in English language, we should use the same assessment, formative assessment, that will be beneficial for teachers to have knowledge about the lesson that they have conducted. And the last improvement that the assessment test that can be taken to the assessment test kit is to use both online and offline platform. This is in order to cater different students' need, where some students have the difficulty, the internet connection, the lack of gadget to answer assessment, to answer tests in online platforms. So teachers need to provide offline option for them. With that, that is all the presentation about the reflection on the assessment test kit. With that, thank you.